Hey, I believe that we're live. It took like 30 seconds of looking at a black screen with, working on it, circles happening digitally. Okay, let's see. I just wanted to check my notes and my dates. February 23rd was the last health illness update. I've been trying to do this for about a month. I've had it on my list of things to record like every day, and I think it's like the end of the month anyway. I don't know, 20 something. Anyway, I'm Steve. This is Health Illness Update 35. The last one was on February 23rd. So I'm going to try and check a couple notes here to tell you where I'm at. February 23rd, is that what I said? Yeah, so that means basically it was right after I got out of the hospital. So February 23rd, so yeah, so this is a transfer of care visit on the 27th. Here's it when I check my app. Here's like the first thing the app tells me is here's how far behind you are. And that's not like all the credit card bills. That's just what the Yale is asking me for. So every time I log in, I try and throw a few bucks their ways, which is never enough. So it looks like on the 25th, yeah, I don't remember. I have a note in here that on the 25th I saw Dr. Duffy's APRN, but I think that was canceled February. I screenshot everything, so hopefully the February 27th, 25th. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Oh, that's March. Yeah, you'd think I'd be more planned. I'm sorry. I thought I was. I thought I screenshot everything in order. Okay, so February 27th, I saw Dr. Rubenstein. It's called the transfer care visit. He's my GP, so I saw him after all the surgery. And we booked our yearly visit. I think we switched it to the date because I think it was supposed to be like the following week. And he's like, I'm seeing you now. Why don't we get through this? Returning to your life after the surgery, make sure there's no more complications. And I think I see him soon. That'll probably come up in this video. Then it looks like had a March 2nd was canceled with my the APRN. So I guess we just switched it to the 4th. So March 4th, I saw Dr. Duffy in his office. So that's a week and a half or 2 weeks after I got out of the hospital. He didn't see any issues. I saw on March 11th, I saw Dr. Dorfman, who I'd been referred to from Dr. Lim, my oncologist, my medical oncologist. Dr. Dorfman I've seen before for colonoscopy stuff. That's why I went back to him. Great to see him. Really educational, really wonderful. If I'm trying to remember, I think that if I remember correctly, Dr. Duffy, that's my surgeon, said that we should avoid colonoscopies, I think, for 3 months following the surgery. I think that's right. And I believe that what happened in Dorfman's is that he said, I agree with that. Dr. Lim wanted me to see him within 2 months. And he said, why don't I see you in 2 months? And then that'll give us time to plan so that we do the colonoscopy in 3 months. So I think that's where I'm at with him. I'm going to see him 2 months from March 11th, plus or minus, at which point I think the expectation is we'd schedule a colonoscopy within the next, let's say, month. And then that makes Dorfman happy, that makes Lim happy. I believe that's where we're at. So it was a brief visit, educational, convenient. I felt well cared for. That was March 11th. Then March 13th, it says I had I think I was supposed to have a visit with Dr. Duffy that got canceled, and I got put onto Amelia Young on the 16th, but then they scheduled that, but that didn't work for me, I think. So I called. They were nice enough to let me see her on March 25th because I had an issue, which I actually still have. I'm touching my belly. Thinking that you could see it on the camera. There's not much to see, just belly. But I kind of felt like there's this one part that felt like a little new, like firm, and maybe a little swollen, but not painful, not tenderness, no discharge, no redness, no fever. But I thought I'd rather have somebody see, maybe this is fine. She saw it, did an exam, and she said she thought it was just fluid, and we would expect that to slowly reabsorb into the body, and that she wasn't concerned. And I felt better seeing her, having her examine me and explain her thinking. And of course, she went through my whole history, and I felt like she was really on top of it. As I'm touching now, it kind of feels about the same as it did then, which doesn't feel like it's resolving, although I don't think it's getting worse. But I expect to be seeing some doctors soon, so I'll definitely bring it up and get their attention and eyes on it again. So that was March 25th. See how quickly this is going? It would have been much quicker if I was ready. I thought I was ready. So April 14th. Wow, there was, um, I saw Dr. Lim. Okay. I just feel like that was further away ago, but I guess I was there 2 weeks ago. Um, so blood work, review. Oh, right. So we were reviewing the CAT scan from the hospital, the recent PET scan, CEA tests, the ctDNA tests. Again, she felt like we still don't have a target. I asked her again about the seeing the pulmonologist. I asked her again about when I was with Dorfman, who was sort of the first doctor I was seeing, uh, that I thought I could ask this to. I said, look, I know this isn't your issue, but here's that tenderness that's in my belly. And he said, just see Duffy. Now I'm remembering that's why I went to Duffy, who I actually saw Amelia Junk, his APRN at that point, and she did that exam I just told you about with the tenderness and the fluid buildup, was the explanation. Anyway, so Dorfman said that, and I also asked him about what the CAT scan showed in the lungs. I thought that it had showed maybe more lesions or areas of concern and something that was growing. I thought it said by 50%. I forgot like the millimeters or centimeters or whatever it was. And I felt like I think I read that while I was in the hospital. So, of course, who knows how clear headed I was. And I was reading a lot of stuff. So I asked him about it. I said, I know this isn't your area of expertise, but you're the doctor I'm talking to. And he said, I looked at the CAT scan report. I don't see anything of concern. I think you're confused. So then I was thinking, all right, maybe I just misremembered or didn't read it right. And, that's fine. I wasn't eating for 3 weeks. I wasn't drinking anything. I was needing sleep, so under stress, that's fine. Then when I went into Dr. Lim, so this was April 14th, um, as if people don't need more stress, on tax day, basically. I said the same thing. I said, what about the lungs? And she said, I don't really remember exactly, but essentially she looked at it and she kind of renewed my concern. She's like, I'm seeing something. I don't know if she was looking at the CT scan or the report, probably both. I don't recall. And then I remember she showed me the scan because I asked, can I see? And she showed me, like, here's the area of concern. I was like, okay, that seems to be what I was thinking before I talked to Dorfman. Not that I'm complaining about Dorfman and his assessment, right? So I said, so does that represent a target? Because we're seeing ctDNA trend upward. We're seeing CEA suggest cancer. I don't know if the CEA is trending upwards or is just, I'm positive on the test, I guess is maybe how, I don't think it's more of a range thing. So, where we have left with the medical oncology is that recently we're seeing the ctDNA and the CEA show evidence of the cancer's return. However, there's no target on imaging. Without a target on imaging, there's no way to develop or implement a interventional plan. That interventional plan, I expect, would be some combination of any or all of the above or the below, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. Uh, so I'm now I'm now remembering a couple things I have to follow up with now that I'm recording this. So I said to her, chemo was more of an issue for me for the radiation. Radiation went pretty well. She said, and I've heard this before, perhaps from her, but didn't seem very likely that they'd want to re-radiate the lungs because they've had enough scarring. So that could be right. Previously, when I talked to the oncologist, which might have been Stacy Stein at the time, and the pulmonologist, Michael Imev Bore, they both seem to think that um, where they saw issues in my lungs, so this is like a year and a half ago or whatever it was, they said that looks like a place that they can biopsy, right? Or resect maybe, without great concern for, I suppose, other organs and blood vessels, is my guess. So now I'm thinking, what if they have to go into the lungs to deal with what we're seeing? And so I was discussing this with Dr. Lim, and she said, I'd like to get it biopsied. So that suggests to me that something that they're seeing on the CT scan is concerning enough to biopsy. And maybe that is the target. And we are seeing on imaging, uh, what the oncologist is prepared to deal with, I guess. So then she says, I don't think that this is in a place that we can biopsy. Or she says, I'm not sure. Uh, uh, I don't know. I think she said, I don't know if they can biopsy there. So I said, what do we do? And she said, well, the way it works is we put in a request to have you biopsied, and I send them the imaging and my request. Then they look at it, the interventional radiologist, they look at it and decide if they think they can do it. And if they do, they put you on the schedule. And if they don't, I guess they reject the case, right? So she said, I'm going to just put you in for one, and then, if they if they accept it, then we know they can do it. Okay, or we know they think they can do it. Or okay. So okay. So today, April 14th, March, April 14th. You would think the next one. Okay, March, April. Okay. So I think that's it. I'm going to just look at my calendar real quickly here. What is this? Dorfman was March 11th. Then we have 18th. So on what month am I in? April 2nd, I gave blood for the ctDNA. I just gave blood yesterday again for ctDNA. So that's kind of surprising to me. So that means it's like 26 days away, which is the most frequent time they've done it. But okay, nothing more I can do. So anyway, May 6th, that's 1 week from today, I'm scheduled for that lung biopsy. They scheduled it before, but they didn't run it by me, so I had to reschedule it. That was a whole thing. Okay, so May 6th is the lung biopsy. Then May 12th, I go in for my physical with Dr. Rubenstein. And then later in the day, I see Dr. Lim, the medical oncologist. And then the next day I have a follow-up with Dr. Duffy for, my big surgery or surgeries. And then June 3rd is when I see for gastroenterology, Dr. Dorfman to schedule the colonoscopy. So I still have to make an appointment with the pulmonologist who has not responded to me. So I have to give that another try. And I'm remembering now that I asked for a referral to uh, radiology to see if I'm a candidate, but maybe that should happen after they get the biopsy, or if they know it's something to radiate, right? One of the questions I'll have for the biopsy is if they go in and it's a small enough thing, do they try and get a piece of it and then bring it to the lab, or do they just say, well, we're here, let's take it all out? and get good margins. And if it was cancer, then maybe we got it all while we're in there. I don't know. I'm assuming that means that if it's a big thing and the sample size is small, all they do is get a bit. And I imagine if it's small enough, then they do try and get all of it. I don't really know. Yeah, I'm not going to change their minds. I'm just kind of curious to know. Um, and okay, so I think that's it. Hopefully, that wasn't too long. It's been a little while. I wanted to kind of get some answers before I did one of these, and then I wanted to find the time to do it. And today, I think I recorded 6 guided meditations and um, did some writing for a friend's book and wrote some more for my Substack. So patreon.com/somedayfarm, somedayfarm.org. Check us out for some classes and help any way you can. Thanks. And there's probably a button I pressed to stop this, but I don't know where the button is. So you guys get to look at my old man face trying to figure out how I stop a live stream. There's literally no button. I just press the X.